Marcus Hale stepped off the cramped shuttle onto the dusty landing platform of the Frontier Trading Station. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burnt fuel. Merchants called out from crowded stalls, pushing their goods through the chaotic crowd, while travelers hurried past, carrying crates and baskets, trying to survive another day in the harsh frontier. Marcus, a young engineer, had traveled far from Earth to take a position repairing equipment for the station's settlements. He was cautious but curious, his eyes scanning the strange alien faces and unusual machines around him. As he walked through the market area, a sudden movement caught his attention. Among the dirt and trash, a tiny alien girl crouched low to the ground, picking through scraps of food others had thrown away. Her small body was thin, covered in tattered clothes that hung loosely on her frame. Her skin had a soft shimmer, almost like moonlight reflecting off water, but it was hidden beneath dust and grime. She moved like an animal, careful and nervous, her bright eyes darting around to make sure no one was watching her too closely. She reminded Marcus of a street dog, but there was something in her posture that made him pause. Marcus knelt down a few steps away, hoping not to startle her. "Hey," he said softly, "are you okay? Do you want some help?" The girl froze, her glowing eyes wide with fear. She had been surviving by being invisible, by avoiding humans and aliens alike. She wasn't used to kindness, and she didn't trust anyone. She swallowed a bite of dry breadcrumbs and shook her head slowly, too cautious to speak. Marcus watched her carefully. He could see the scars of hunger and neglect on her tiny frame. No one else seemed to care about her. Traders ignored her, children laughed, and even station guards stepped around without a glance. But Marcus could not. There was something about her, not just her fragility but her spirit. Even in fear, she moved with careful grace, and her eyes, though wary, held a spark of intelligence and curiosity. "Here," Marcus said, taking a small packet of food from his pack. He placed it gently on the ground a few feet from her. "You can eat this, it's clean." The girl hesitated, then backed away. She had never received anything freely before. She expected a punch, a shout, or at least a shove, but Marcus waited patiently, silent, giving her the space to make the choice. Finally, with a cautious step, she crept forward and took the food in her hands. Her fingers trembled slightly as she tasted it. Marcus noticed how delicate her hands were, with fine markings that glimmered faintly under the station lights. They were not just random patterns. They seemed almost ceremonial, like something belonging to royalty or a long-forgotten culture. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible, yet strangely melodic. I am Arya." Marcus smiled. "I'm Marcus. Nice to meet you, Arya." She looked around nervously, then back at him. Why are you helping me?" "No one else. They don't care." Marcus shrugged. "I do. That's enough reason." A murmur passed among the nearby merchants, some of whom had overheard the exchange. One of them, a wiry trader with crooked teeth, leaned in and whispered to Marcus. "That girl, she's from a fallen tribe. People say they're all gone. Her kind is weak, small, not worth anyone's attention." Marcus frowned. "Weak? Look at her. She's surviving here every day. That takes strength." The trader scoffed. "Surviving, maybe, but she's nothing. Nothing at all." Marcus shook his head. Something about her markings, the way she held herself even in fear, did not fit the story the trader told. There was something more, something hidden. A group of rough scavengers approached, noticing the girl crouched on the ground. They were notorious on the station, always looking for someone weak to harass or exploit. Arya froze completely, expecting a blow or a shove. Her hands clutched the scraps of bread tightly. "Hey, kid," one of the scavengers sneered. "Move along. You don't belong here." Marcus stepped in front of her without hesitation. "Leave her alone," he said firmly. His voice carried more authority than he expected. The scavengers laughed, unimpressed. "And who's going to make us? You?" Marcus's eyes narrowed. He had no weapons, only a small toolkit, but he didn't back down. He could see the terror in Arya's eyes, and it fueled his resolve. "I said leave her alone," he repeated. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then the scavengers shrugged and moved on, muttering under their breath. Arya's shoulders relaxed slightly, though her eyes remained wary. Marcus knelt beside her once more. "You're safe now," he said softly. She didn't respond immediately. She simply stared at him, as if trying to decide whether she could trust this human who had suddenly appeared in her life. After a long pause, she whispered, You are not like the others." Marcus smiled gently. "No, I'm not. Come on, let's get out of this mess." He took her small hand in his and led her away from the crowded market. They walked through narrow corridors of the station, past merchants selling exotic fruits and mechanical parts, past travelers and alien workers, until they reached a quieter area near the station's residential quarters. Marcus led Arya into his small room, a space barely bigger than a closet, but safe, clean, and quiet. He set down a small blanket and some fresh water. "Eat as much as you want," he said. "Take your time." Arya sat on the blanket and stared at him, still unsure. Then slowly she began to eat. The warmth of the food and the quiet of the room seemed to relax her. Marcus watched her carefully. He could see hints of a hidden grace in the way she moved, the faint glow of her markings becoming more noticeable under the station lights. He felt a strange recognition, though he didn't know why. There was something royal in her demeanor, something that demanded respect even in her weakened state. Later, as Arya finished eating, Marcus sat beside her. "Can you tell me about your tribe?" he asked gently. Arya shook her head. They are gone. Everyone, gone. I hide, I survive. That is all." Marcus nodded. He could feel her pain, her fear, and her loneliness. "You don't have to be alone anymore," he said quietly. "I'll help you. I'll protect you." Her glowing eyes met his. For the first time, they were not filled with fear. They were curious, tentative, and a spark of hope began to form. That night, as Arya slept, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about her. He remembered the trader's words calling her weak and worthless. He felt anger rise within him. This tiny alien girl, eating scraps to survive, hiding from the world. She was stronger than anyone there realized. And Marcus knew he had seen something others had missed, a princess in the dust, waiting to be discovered. The next morning, Marcus brought fresh water and some clean clothes. Arya looked at him, hesitant. Why do you care?" "Because I can," he said simply, "and because someone has to see you for who you really are." She hesitated, then allowed him to help her change into the simple clothes. Her small body was fragile, yet there was a poise in her movements, a dignity that Marcus could not ignore. As they prepared to step outside, a group of station workers passed by and stared. Whispers followed them. "That's the girl? The scavenger girl?" one said. Marcus ignored them. Arya followed his lead, her small hand in his. He felt a sense of responsibility stronger than anything he had ever known. He knew the station was harsh, dangerous, and unforgiving, but he would face it all if it meant protecting her. Suddenly, a merchant approached, leaning close and whispering, "Those markings, they're old, ancient. They belong to a royal line thought destroyed. She might be the last one." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Arya. Could it be true? Could this fragile, scared girl be someone who once held power, someone others would have sought if they had known? Arya noticed his sudden change in expression. What is it?" she asked softly. Marcus crouched down to her level. "I think you might be very special," he said. more than anyone else sees. Her eyes widened. Special? No, I am small. I am nothing. I am just scraps. Marcus shook his head firmly. No, you are more than scraps. You are a princess, Arya. I can feel it. The girl blinked at him, unable to comprehend the words. She had spent her life hiding, surviving, and yet here was someone calling her a princess, someone who believed in her when no one else did. The afternoon passed quietly, but the memory of the market, the fear in her eyes, and the scorn of the traders lingered. Marcus made a silent promise to himself. He would not let anyone hurt her again. He would protect her, guide her, and maybe, just maybe, help her realize the power she had hidden within. As the sun began to set outside the station, casting long shadows across the corridors, Marcus and Arya stood by the window. She was small, delicate, and scared, yet she clung to his hand. Marcus looked down at her, a mixture of admiration and determination in his gaze. The world had ignored her. Others had laughed at her. But he would not. He saw what no one else did, a princess, lost among the scraps, waiting for someone to notice her. And Marcus had noticed. The sun rose slowly over the frontier station, casting pale orange light across the dusty platforms. Marcus Hale stood near his small quarters, looking down at Arya, the little alien girl who had changed his life in a single day. She was sitting on the blanket he had prepared for her the night before, her eyes tracing the sunlight as if it were something new, something she had never seen before. Marcus could not stop thinking about the merchant's words yesterday. The markings she carried, the way she moved, the hidden grace in her small body. They suggested that she was no ordinary child. She was a princess, and the universe might not yet realize how important she was. Marcus, Arya said softly, breaking his thoughts. What will happen now? He knelt beside her, taking her small hands in his. Now, we take it one step at a time. First, we make sure you are safe. Then, we see what the world wants from you. Her glowing eyes widened slightly. What does the world want from me? Marcus shook his head. Some people will see you as weak. Others might see you as powerful. Some might want to use you. But you deserve to choose. Arya looked down at her hands. A faint light pulsed from her markings. Almost like a heartbeat beneath her skin. She had never noticed it before, or perhaps she had learned to ignore it. Marcus noticed it immediately. Your markings, he said carefully. They are reacting. Something about this place, this moment. They are stronger than yesterday. Arya's small lips parted. Stronger? No, I am just small, weak. I do not know how to control them. Marcus smiled gently. Then we will learn together. You are not alone. The station had started its daily bustle outside. Merchants called to one another, engineers worked on machines, and travelers passed through carrying supplies. But inside Marcus's room, a quiet calm surrounded them. It was the first moment Arya had experienced peace in her life. She had survived by hiding, by running, by eating scraps like an animal. But here, with Marcus, she was just a girl again. Over the next hours, Marcus helped her eat a proper meal and clean herself. He had salvaged clothing from a trading shipment and carefully fitted it to her tiny frame. Arya looked at herself in the small mirror he had set up, her glowing markings visible in the light. She did not speak, but her eyes held wonder. Marcus could see her slowly understanding that she had been seen, finally, as someone worthy of care and attention. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside. Arya jumped, clutching Marcus's sleeve. Through the window, they saw a group of rough men and women, known scavengers, pushing through the corridor outside. Their faces were hard, cruel, and they were searching for someone. Marcus immediately recognized the danger. These scavengers had been watching the station, looking for weaklings to exploit. And now, They had found Araya. Marcus quickly moved in front of her. "Stay behind me," he said. His voice was calm, but every instinct in his body was alert. Araya's small body pressed against his side. "They will take me," she whispered. "I cannot fight." Marcus shook his head firmly. "We will see about that." He grabbed a few tools from his bag, small mechanical devices he had been carrying for repairs, and set to work. He pulled open panels and wires, creating small traps in the hallway. Sparks flew, pieces of metal shifted, and the scavengers stumbled, giving Marcus the advantage. Arya watched in awe, her eyes wide as he worked with calm precision. Marcus was not a soldier, but he was human, and humans had a way of facing impossible odds with creativity and courage. The scavengers finally broke through the first set of obstacles, moving with aggression toward the door. Marcus stepped in front of Arya, brandishing a wrench as a makeshift weapon. "I warned you!" he shouted. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then Arya felt something stir inside her. Her markings pulsed with energy, glowing brighter than she had ever seen. She gasped, touching her hands together, and a sudden wave of force shot outward, knocking the scavengers off balance. Sparks flew from the walls, alarms blared, and the intruders staggered back, terrified and unsure what had happened. Arya collapsed into Marcus's arms, her small body trembling. I didn't mean to," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Marcus held her tightly. "It's okay. You saved us both." He looked at her markings and realized the truth. Her power was real, and it was tied to something ancient, something royal. This small girl, abandoned and hiding, held a force that could change everything. The rest of the day passed in tense silence. Marcus explained carefully how to control her power, emphasizing patience and focus. Arya listened intently, her small hands glowing softly as she practiced. Slowly, she began to understand. For the first time, she was not running from the world. She was learning to stand in it. Word had spread across the station. Traders and travelers whispered about the human who protected the strange alien girl with glowing markings. Some called her dangerous. Others said she was a royal lost to time. Marcus ignored the gossip, focusing only on Arya's safety. Later, as night fell, a soft hum filled the station. A ship landed quietly on the edge of the platform, a sleek craft adorned with alien symbols that Marcus had never seen. A group of envoys stepped out, their robes shimmering in the light. Their leader knelt before Arya, recognition in his eyes. "You are she," the envoy said softly. "The last of your line, the princess of the Shal'ari. We have searched for you across the galaxy." Arya stared at them, unable to speak. She clutched Marcus's hand tightly. I do not understand. I am just a girl. I eat scraps." The envoy smiled gently. "No, you are a princess. Your line is sacred. The galaxy needs you. And yet, it is clear that you have found someone you trust." Marcus squeezed her hand, unsure of what she would do. Arya's glowing markings pulsed brightly. She looked at Marcus, her small face determined. I want him with me. I trust him." The envoys exchanged glances, then nodded. They had never seen a princess choose her companion in this way. Usually, the Shal'ari were guided by duty, not by the human heart. But Arya had chosen Marcus, and the universe had no choice but to respect that. Over the next hours, Marcus and Arya prepared to leave the station. Supplies were packed, and the envoys offered guidance and protection. Marcus marveled at the tiny girl who had once hidden in the dust, now standing with confidence, her glowing markings bright and powerful. She held his hand the entire time, never letting go. As the royal ship lifted off, leaving the dusty frontier station behind, Marcus looked down at Arya. "You were always more than scraps," he said quietly. She smiled. the first genuine smile Marcus had seen from her. "And you? You saw me," she replied softly. "You saw me when no one else did." The journey through space was quiet, but filled with wonder. Arya sat beside Marcus, her small fingers wrapped around his. She looked out at the stars, finally free from fear, finally free from hunger, finally free to be herself. A princess who had been found, not by luck, but by the courage of a human who refused to ignore her. When the ship entered Shalari space, the stars seemed brighter, the planets more vivid. Marcus had never seen anything like it. Arya stood at the observation window, her markings glowing with pride and energy. The envoys guided them to the royal palace, a magnificent structure suspended in orbit above a vibrant green planet. As they approached the palace, Arya turned to Marcus. "Will you stay with me?" she asked, her voice steady, confident. Marcus nodded. "Always." The palace doors opened, and they stepped inside. Arya walked ahead with purpose, no longer the frightened girl in tattered clothes. Marcus followed, his eyes wide at the grandeur surrounding them. Envoys bowed, servants stepped aside, and whispers of admiration filled the air. Arya paused and looked at Marcus. "This is my home now," she said. "But it is our home too. Thank you for seeing me." Marcus smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known. "I didn't just see you. I believed in you. And you made me believe too." In that moment, the tiny alien girl who had once eaten scraps like a dog had become a princess of a great line, walking beside a human who had chosen courage, compassion, and honor over fear. Together, they would face the galaxy, not as girl and human, but as allies, friends, and protectors. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and for the first time, both Marcus and Arya felt the limitless possibilities of a future shaped not by fear or survival, but by hope, trust, and the human spirit that could see greatness where others saw nothing. And in that moment, the universe began to change. Not just for Arya, the princess who had been lost, but for Marcus, the human who had refused to look away. Because when humans see the best in someone, even the smallest, most broken, most hidden soul can rise and shine like a star. And Arya, the little girl who once ate scraps in the dust, would shine brighter than any star in the galaxy, not just because of her birthright, but because one human had chosen to see her for who she truly was.